Concept 4, discuss the election of 1824 and show how it led to the development of the modern-day Democratic Party. The election of 1824 reflects that politically the end of the era good feeling had passed. By this time, the country was split very badly over three economic issues of what was called by Henry Clay the American system. Henry Clay insisted that, and this is Henry Clay right here, insisted that the only way the nation could be strengthened was on a sound economic program that would enable the United States to become independent of the rest of the world. The system had three parts. The first was a national bank to provide a sound, uniform financial system. So in 1811, the first Bank of the United States passed out of existence as its charter expired. Madison, a Democratic Republican, was against the bank and would not renew its charter. Between 1811 and 1860, the number of state banks tripled. These banks had no government checks upon them. Under the circumstances, many of the state banks went wild in issuing banknotes. $28 million by 1811 and $68 million in 1816 were issued collectively by these banks. Thus, the instability in the economy made Democratic and Republicans and businessmen alike aware of the need for a national bank to stabilize the American currency. A bill signed into law by President Madison in 1816 created the Second Bank of the United States as a result of this instability. Again, this is Madison's pragmatism and ability to understand that he made a mistake. The function and structure of the Second Bank were essentially the same as those of the First Bank. The second leg of the American system was a protective tariff. When the Republicans adopted the protective tariff of 1816, they adopted another one of Alexander Hamilton and the Federalist Party's ideas. Reasons. One, during the early 1800s with Jefferson's embargo plus the War of 1812, the United States found it difficult to get goods from Europe. This problem stimulated the Industrial Revolution in the United States. After the war, the British merchants wanted to recapture their one-time American trade. So in 1815, they dumped a lot of low-cost goods on American market in hopes of running their American competitors out of business. American businessmen were not about to be driven out of business, quite obviously. So in 1816, they put pressure on Congress to pass a protective tariff to protect their interests, right? So they're trying to make it more expensive for British goods to come in. So when they do come into the American market, they're going to be more expensive, giving American industries, goods and services, a stronger advantage in trade domestically. The Tariff Act had the support of both John C. Calhoun from the South and Henry Clay from the West, and put import duties on 15 to 30% on cotton, textile, leather, paper, pig iron, wool, and other goods that mostly benefited the North. The final phase of the American system was a plan for internal improvements for transportation. The Embargo Act of 1807 and the War of 1812 disrupted coastal shipping and demonstrated the inadequacy of the country's internal transportation system for both interstate commerce and national defense. In the West, high transportation costs still deprived many farmers of outside markets and tied them to an economy of pioneer self-sufficiency. The greatest demand for federal help came from the West for these reasons. In 1817, John C. Calhoun proposed the bonus bill, which provided that $1.5 million be distributed among the states for local internal improvements for infrastructure. Madison considered the bill unconstitutional and vetoed it in March, just before he left office. That this killed the internal improvement phase of the American system and left such improvements up to state governments and private enterprise. As a result of these issues, there were 4 candidates in 1824 for the presidency, and all were claiming to be Democratic Republicans. 3 of these candidates were representatives from 3 different sections of the country. Andrew Jackson from the west, John Quincy Adams from the north, William H. Crawford from the south. The 4th, Henry Clay, thought of himself as a national candidate representing the interest of all 3 sections of the country with his American system. And again, the American system consists of a national bank, a high tariff, and improvements in internal improvements for transportation or infrastructure, right? So that would be the American system according to Henry Clay. There was a possibility of 261 electoral votes, of which 131 were necessary to capture the presidency. However, none of the candidates received that number. Clay gained 37 electoral votes, Crawford 41, Adams 84, and Jackson, the winner, 99. So according to the 12th Amendment to the Constitution, the election had to be decided between the top 3 candidates in the House of Representatives. Henry Clay was the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and thus was in a position to pick up the next pick the next president of the United States. Kind of awkward, right? So he's running for president. He's Speaker of the House, so he gets to decide of these 4 men who is going to become president. Since Clay was not eligible because he came in 4th, he gave his support to John Quincy Adams, who thus won the presidency. So you could see how this is going to cause problems, right? John Quincy Adams did not get as many popular votes nor electoral votes. Andrew Jackson earned both of those, but since, again, there wasn't 131 earned by any of them, it went to the Speaker of the House really to decide, the House of Representatives to decide. Adams responded by making Clay Secretary of State. His Secretary of State. After Adams appointed Clay Secretary of State, Jackson followers claimed that a corrupt bargain had been made. Although James Buchanan of Pennsylvania had already tried to make a similar deal with Clay for Jackson and failed. Right, so Jackson was trying to do the same thing, but he lost. So he's going to make a lot of political hay out of this whole thing. The charge represents a half-truth, as both Clay and Adams acted in what they felt was politically best for the party and the country, as their political views were very close. However, Clay did see the post of Secretary of State as a stepping stone to the presidency. Clay opposed the election to the presidency of a military leader like Jackson because he doubted that losing only 71 casualties and killing 2,500 Englishmen at New Orleans qualified a man for the presidency. Right, so he just felt, yeah, he was a great war hero, but it doesn't make him qualified to become president. To complement this, the Secretary of Stateship went to Clay, according to Adams, quote, an appointment due to Mr. Clay's talents and services. It was the politicians who elected John Quincy Adams, not the people. Jackson felt that he had been cheated, quite obviously, out of the presidency, and as a result of this belief, he resigned from Congress in 1825 and began a 3-year campaign to win the presidency in 1828. During this 3-year period, Jackson formulated what was to be called a grassroots method of campaigning, as he set up campaign offices all over the country when he formed the new political party called the Democratic Republican Party. Later, the term was shortened just to the Democratic Party. Excellent. So that's concept 4. I'll see you guys in the next segment of concept 5.